to another episode of the MX-5. My name is Ian, and today I'm going to be showing you exactly how to install a Xymax steering wheel on your ND Miata. Now you'll notice on the footage that the wheel I'm removing actually is the Xymax wheel. That's because when I was originally shooting the footage, taking the OEM wheel off, it came out really terrible. A lot of the work was not really in the frame, so that's why I'm going ahead and re-recording the process for you so you can see exactly how it's done. Don't worry, the process for removing the Xymax wheel is exactly the same as the OEM wheel. That's because the Xymax wheel uses the same core that the OEM wheel does. They just change the outer diameter portion so that way it gives it the thicker grip, the contours for your thumbs and your pinkies, that flat bottom, the perforated leather on the sides, the stitching, all those things. Now to do this job, you're only going to need a few simple tools, including a 10mm socket or wrench, a 21mm socket, 2 flat blade screwdrivers. Make sure one is pretty small and flat. I'll show you what we use that for in just a bit. And then you're also going to need some trim removal tools, those little plastic ones that are non-damaging to plastic trim and leather, stuff like that. We don't want to mess up any of the trim that's on the steering wheel, or of course the leather on the new or the old wheel. Now real briefly, I want to discuss why I chose the Xymex wheel over some others that are on the market, particularly the Guardian Designs wheel that a lot of folks seem to be using for the ND Miata. There are a couple reasons. Primary one was cost. The Xymex wheel was about 332 euros, which translates to roughly 390 to 400 US dollars, just depending on the exchange rate. And then the deposit for the core was another 250 euros, or about 290 to 300 dollars, again depending on the exchange rates, which I did send back my original to get that core back. If you want to keep your original, you can. You just pay that extra core charge. Otherwise, you send yours back after installing the Xymex wheel and you get that core charge back. So it's only cost me about $400, which is a lot less than the Guardian Design wheels, which were a little over $700. So cost was a big factor in this. In addition, I really like the look of the Xymex wheel with the specific orange stitching for the 30th anniversary, the perforated leather on the sides, and then this one was also the same size as the original wheel, which I really enjoyed. Guardian Designs had a lot that were smaller than the OEM wheel, and I figured that especially with the thicker grip around the outside, it might actually block off some of the gauges and maybe a little bit too small for daily driving and comfortable handling. So those are a couple reasons why I went with the Xymex wheel. I am extremely satisfied with this wheel. I absolutely love it. It feels incredible. I've been driving around for about a week with this wheel on the car, and it has completely changed the feeling of the vehicle as well as the look when you sit inside. It's really like OEM Plus. Doesn't look like a cheap aftermarket wheel at all. Looks like something that a special edition car like this should have come with from the factory. So I'm extremely happy with it. I'll put a link in the description below where you could get yours as well. And they make also a lot of other cool products for these cars, including the sequential side turn signals, which I have installed, and a bunch of others for this car, as well as many other makes and models. Now let's go ahead and get started with the installation process. So the first step of doing this job is going to be to pop the hood and disconnect the negative battery terminal. The reason we do this is we don't want any interference with the airbag when we're removing that. We don't want it to accidentally go off. So go ahead and disconnect that negative battery terminal. It's going to be a 10mm nut, super simple, and then wait about 10 minutes for any residual electrical charge to dissipate. That way we can be sure we're safe while working. Now we're going to go inside the car. To remove the steering wheel is going to be a really simple process. There's going to be 3 holes underneath of it on the back side, kind of on that black plastic trim. You'll see those 3 holes. There's one here, and one right here. And if you shine a flashlight into those holes, you'll see a small black bar inside those. What you'll do is stick a flat blade screwdriver into the hole and kind of press on that black bar. Essentially what that does is it releases a spring within the airbag and steering wheel housing, so that way it pops the airbag off. So you gotta do all 3 of those, and the airbag should just pop off. You don't have to pull it or pry it. It comes off by itself. Now underneath of that, we'll see a couple of cables. There's actually 3 of them, 3 different wires. One of them, the blue wire, has a single blade connector. So you'll just press down on the little tab on the connector itself and then pull it right off. Now you'll have 2 more wires to remove. There's gonna be this orange connector and the yellow connector. Taking that really small screwdriver, you're going to want to come between the colored portion, the orange or yellow portion, and that little black piece in the middle. Stick the screwdriver underneath and then just pry up until it pops out of place, and then you can safely remove those wires and place the airbag somewhere on the side, out of the way, face up, so that way in case it does accidentally go off, it's not going to become a flying projectile. The next step from there is going to be removing the wheel itself. You'll see there's a single 21mm nut right there on the center of the wheel. So go ahead and remove that nut, and then we just shimmy the wheel off, kind of putting your hand at the 9 and 3 o'clock position and move it side to side while pulling outward, and it should come right off. Make sure to keep note of the orientation of your wheel before removing it. Try to keep everything straight and lined up. That way it makes it easier to line it up next time. You can even place a bit of tape on the steering wheel trim and then the trim on the steering column. That way it makes it even easier to line up the new wheel once you go and install it. So now with the steering wheel removed from the car, we have to remove the trim pieces from the OEM wheel. So starting with the black plastic trim piece that's on the back of the wheel, you'll see in the center of it, there's going to be 2 little black plastic clips. You want to just pull those back with the screwdriver, and then at the back side of each of the spokes on the wheel, you're going to take that trim removal tool, stick between the black trim and the steering wheel itself, and just pop it right off, and then the entire trim piece should come right out. Just remember to be careful because these are all plastic components and they can be broken if you try to bend them or if you're too rough with them. Next, we'll go ahead and remove the center chrome ring that also connects down to the bottom spoke of the steering wheel. It's one plastic piece. We'll kind of pry off the bottom portion there and then just pull the entire assembly out. Again, be careful to apply even pressure on all of the mounting points. There's 2 at the top and then the ones down there at the bottom. And then we'll remove the buttons for the steering wheel itself and then just pry it straight up and it should pop right off. So now with all the trim removed from the original wheel, we could go ahead and place it onto the new Xymax wheel, exactly like we installed it, just do the exact reverse order. And then we'll go ahead and place the wheel back onto the steering column, make sure that the splines are lined up and that you get the wheel as straight as possible. Then of course, go ahead and put the 21mm nut back onto the steering column, tighten it down until it's sufficiently tight. I don't know the torque spec, but I just hit it with the impact 1 or 2 times. It's a low powered impact, so it's not going to damage anything, and it has a little locking ring inside of it so it won't come undone. And then the last step is going to be reconnect the airbag. Just put the wires back in the same reverse order that you took them out, and then pop the airbag assembly onto the wheel. Make sure those springs, they all click back into place. And then of course reconnect the negative battery terminal and then ensure your car starts up and take it for a test drive. So guys, that's how you install the Xymex steering wheel on your ND Miata. It should be the same process for any other wheel you get if you choose the Guardian design, the Xymex, or any other one that's out there. Super quick and easy to do. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes total, and it makes the world of difference on this vehicle. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel to keep up with all the new content that I post. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below and I'll try to get to them as soon as I can. Again, I want to thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next video.